Welcome back to the show. Well, it started a little slow, the winter, when it comes to snow, but we've been getting a lot of snow lately, and it makes for, great downhill skiing and cross-country skiing. It also makes for great sledding, and families love to get out there and enjoy the winter by sledding, but there's a lot of safety precautions we should be thinking about, and I'm joined by Marc-Antoine Deschamps. He is the Superintendent of Public Information with Ottawa Paramedics. Marc-Antoine, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start off, first of all, about safety, and first and foremost, you've brought helmets along, and boy, oh boy, have we come a long way when it comes to safety, Marc-Antoine, because I'm in my 50s now, and we never, our families never talked about, something like a helmet when we went sledding. Why is a helmet so incredibly important?
It's very important because when you're sledding down a hill, and if you fall off the sled, or if you hit somebody else, or if somebody else hits you, your head, despite your skull being very rigid, is very sensitive to these types of impacts. So it's really important to protect our head from concussions and from other type of more serious type of injuries.
I asked you beforehand about, do you get a lot of calls with the Ottawa Paramedics because of sledding accidents?
Fortunately, we don't get a lot of calls. It's not uncommon, but it's not frequent either. We're happy to see that most people follow the rules, follow our safety tips that we've been pushing with Ottawa Public Health, and that's for sure helped reducing the amount of injuries that we see.
Yeah, and one injury is one injury too many, as you so eloquently put before when we talked. What about choosing the proper helmet? How important is that?
So first of all, when you buy a helmet, it's important that you buy it new, that you don't buy a used helmet, because you don't know if that helmet sustained a significant injury or not. Also, for parents looking to buy a helmet, make sure that you don't buy a helmet anticipating that your kid will grow into it.
Right.
So it might not fit very well at first, but within 2 years it will. So that would cause some problem at the beginning, because the helmet might not be adjusted for your child. When you're picking a helmet for winter sports, ski or snowboard helmets are probably the best, because they are designed for these type of activities.
Right.
However, hockey helmets will also do the trick. When you go and purchase a helmet, make sure that you bring whatever your child will be wearing to make sure that it's well adjusted.
Okay. You're saying if they wear sort of a beanie underneath or something?
Beanie or a baklava like this, make sure you bring it so they can actually fit the helmet with the head cover you're going to wear. We recommend against big, heavy toques, but a small one, a thin one, or a baklava will do just fine. In terms of adjustment, you have some helmet like this one that cannot be adjusted, really. There's no adjustment inside. Sometimes you can add or subtract padding, or you have other helmets like this one where you will have an adjustment at the back that you can use.
Okay.
Whenever you get a helmet, it's important that you adjust it very well, so it has to fit snug but comfortable.
Okay.
And what do we mean by snug? We mean basically that if you're going to move the helmet, the head will follow. And that's really important. But at the same time, it has to be comfortable, so people wear them.
Yeah.
And when you put it on, make sure you can still put one finger under the chin strap for comfort, but not too many, because we don't want the strap to fall off as you're tobogganing.
Of course.
And again, if this one has an adjustment in the back, you can tighten it as long as it's comfortable but snug.
Gotcha. I want to talk about approved Ottawa ski hills, because again, this is something, when I was a child, we didn't see much of, but now we're specifically telling people where to, sorry, I said ski hill, sledding hill, where to go tobogganing or sledding. Why is that important?
Because not every hill is safe to go down because of obstacle, because of the inclination or the grade of the hill. It might be too steep and create too much speed. And then if at the bottom there's a lot of obstacles, then there can be some serious accident. So it's important that people follow the approved sledding hills. They're available on ottawa.ca/sledding.
Okay.
They can go there. There's a map, and there's also instructions as to where to park and what kind of hill is at every location.
All right.
So again, by going to that website ahead of time, you can pick the right hill for your age group.
We talked about helmets, but what about choosing a sled? Should we take anything into consideration?
Yes, so some sled like Saucers or Crazy Carpet, they're very inexpensive, but they're very hard to control, if not impossible to control with Saucers. So what we recommend is mainly these types of sled here that are your regular toboggan, but staying away from the Saucers, from the Crazy Carpet and the inflatable ones, which can also be very, very difficult to control. You also need to take into consideration the weather. So if there's been like periods of rain followed by a deep freeze, the sledding hills can become very, very icy and extremely fast, which might sound like a good thing for some age group.
I know kids are going, what are you talking about? But it is important. And because of that, snow and freeze, when you go to a hill, if it's got that new snow on it, you may not realize how slick it is underneath there, right?
Yeah. And when you get there, some hills, there's only one side of the hill that's approved, so make sure that you keep that into consideration. And also when you're sledding, avoid laying on your back, because every bump will create an impact on your back, and that will can cause some musculoskeletal trauma. Try to slide either kneeling on the board, or for somebody that's a bit of a bigger shape for me, sitting on the sled with the lower center of gravity. There's less chance of me tipping over.
I imagine head first is not a good idea either.
It's not a good idea because any impact is going to be straight on your head and then loaded onto your spine. So that position, even if we see it very often on those hills, is not a good idea.
You mentioned weather, Marc-Antoine, and it's gotten quite cold. They're saying that that cold snap's going to last a little while, which thankfully for those, the Winterlude and the canal, we're not opening, unfortunately, the canal, but we should take that into consideration when going out sledding as well, right?
So over the next 2 days, it's going to become very cold, minus 40 with the windshield.
Wow.
So that's very cold. So it's important that people limit the amount of time they spend outside, that they are on the lookout for signs of frostbite. And we're talking change in color, it become very red. We're not talking rosy cheeks here.
Right,
we're talking it's going to be very red. It could turn white or gray, look waxy.
Marc-Antoine, really appreciate the time today. Thanks so much for joining us again. You can visit the website, find out more information.